Rediscover your past by digitizing your family's memories with LEGACYBOX. Watch until the end of this video to find out more about preserving your legacy, and then visit legacybox.com/recollection. In the 1960s, certain simple luxuries made a family stand out, especially when it came to modern conveniences. These were the things that many of us dreamed of, so if you were lucky enough to have them, that meant you might have been rich in the 1960s. In the 1960s, having central air conditioning was a big deal. Most people were still using fans or noisy window units to stay cool, but central air made a home feel fancy and modern. Walking into a house with cool air on a hot day felt amazing, and it showed that the family could afford such a big investment. Usually, the rumor mill would start when neighbors would see work trucks in front of the house, and they would quietly speculate about how they could afford such a luxury. Central air was also expensive when it came to monthly utility bills, so having it back in the 1960s meant you were living the good life. A two-story house was a sure sign of success in the 1960s. While most people lived in single-story ranch homes, a house with 2 floors proved a family had extra money to spend when it came to where they lived. It also often came with special touches, like an intercom system. The extra rooms were perfect for families with multiple children, and it also gave them separate areas to entertain. Two-story homes were impressive, and they sent a clear message that size does matter. If your house happened to have 2 bathrooms in it, then you were definitely rich in the eyes of many. Most homes were originally built with just 1 bathroom, so if yours had 2, that was unbelievable. A second bathroom meant you had options, and as a parent, it also gave you a bit more privacy. There was no waiting in line in the morning, which made everyone's day start a little smoother. It was a big expense to add another bathroom, so owning a home with 1 extra was a clear sign of wealth. In the 60s, many kids shared bedrooms, so having your very own room was a big deal. It showed that you were either an only child, or that the family had enough money to buy a bigger house with more space. Kids could decorate the rooms with their own style by helping select paint colors, or adding a patterned wallpaper, which made it even more personal. Privacy and independence was something we all longed for, and having your own bedroom was the first step. Owning a dishwasher in the 1960s was definitely a sign you were rich. Washing dishes by hand took a lot of time each day, so having a dishwasher made things easier. Having modern appliances showed that you had made it, and friends and family took note. I mean, who could ignore such a shiny, beautiful machine, especially since it gave the kitchen a high-tech and fancy feel? Dishwashers were new at the time, and that means they were pricey too. Did your family have an American Express card in the 1960s? Amex was more than just a way to pay. It was a status symbol, because not everyone could get one. Honestly, most people didn't even use credit cards back then, but pulling out an Amex card in front of friends at a nice restaurant showed you were part of an elite group. It was more than just a credit card, it was a statement of success. Having a color TV in the 1960s was a huge step up from the small black and white sets of the 1950s. Color TVs were expensive and new, so not many people could afford them. And if a family had more than 1 TV, forget about it, they were loaded. Color TV made watching shows like The Wonderful World of Disney even more magical, and families with one were often the center of attention. Everyone on the street knew which house had a color TV, and the new owners would often invite neighbors in to check it out. A flocked Christmas tree was a holiday showstopper in the 1960s. These trees looked like they were covered in snow, which made them a luxury compared to regular trees. Placing the tree in the front window showed pride in the family's festive spirit, and it gave the neighborhood something to admire. Flocking cost extra, so the fancy tree was something that only a select number of families indulged in. In the 1960s, having 2 cars in the driveway was a sure sign of success. Most families at the time only had 1 car, so owning 2 meant you were doing something right. And if one of those cars just happened to be a Cadillac, you were living large, because Cadillacs were the ultimate luxury vehicle. 2 cars also meant more freedom, where mom could run errands while dad went off to work. Flying on airplanes in the 1960s was a rare treat, but getting on a plane to head off on vacation was unheard of, unless you were rich. Most families would load up the family car and drive to their destinations, so flying made a big statement. Airline tickets cost a pretty penny, but it meant you could go to far-off places and not spend days driving. Maybe a flight to California to visit Disneyland, or a summer vacation down to Florida. Flying the friendly skies was truly a first-class experience back in the 1960s. Owning a copy of TV Guide in the 1960s made a small but important statement. Most people just used the newspaper for TV schedules, but TV Guide was a glossy magazine that cost extra. It was filled with more than just listings. It had articles about celebrities and upcoming shows, which made it feel special. Buying TV Guide every week showed that the family had disposable income and cared about staying current with the latest entertainment trends. Having a housekeeper in the 1960s was a clear sign of wealth. It meant the family could afford to hire someone to handle chores, freeing up time for other things. A spotless home showed that the family cared about appearances and had high standards. Guests would notice the polished look and feel of the house, which made it seem even fancier. Hiring a housekeeper wasn't common, so it instantly made a family stand out as rich. An in-ground pool in the 1960s turned any backyard into a luxury retreat. Pools were expensive to install and maintain, so not many families had them. Hosting pool parties became a way to show off this high-end feature to friends and neighbors. An in-ground pool was much fancier than the above-ground ones, making it a status symbol. It showed that the family valued fun, relaxation, and could afford to live a life of leisure. Having two living rooms in the 1960s was a sign of a big and impressive house. One room was often for family use, while the other was a formal space for entertaining guests. Some families kept the furniture in the formal living room covered with plastic to keep it looking brand new, which made the room feel even more special. This setup showed that the family had extra space and could afford to decorate it beautifully, giving the home a polished, elegant feel. Owning a riding lawnmower in the 1960s made yard work look like fun instead of a chore. These machines were expensive, so having one showed that the family could afford the best tools. Some families took it a step further and hired a gardener, which meant they didn't have to do any of the work themselves. A well-kept lawn was a sign of pride and prosperity, and having the means to maintain it so perfectly made a clear statement about wealth. If you think back to middle or high school, we all had friends that we thought were rich. They always seemed to be one of the cool kids, and all of them had certain things that everyone else wished they had. The biggest house, the nicest clothes, and the best toys always set them apart. So here are some things that meant you were one of the rich kids during the 1970s. Having a bike in the 1970s was one thing, but if you had an iconic chopper bike with a banana seat, you were the envy of the neighborhood. These bikes had extended frames and low-slung seats, and they represented the ultimate in 1970s coolness. Rich kids didn't just ride these bikes, they made a statement as they cruised around the block. They were attention-grabbing because they came in a variety of vibrant colors, and the high-rise handlebars set them apart from all the other regular bikes. A chopper was a source of envy for other kids, and it was another thing that set rich kids apart in the 1970s. When it comes to 70s fashion, it's impossible to overlook the moon boots. These funky, futuristic boots were designed to resemble astronaut footwear. Rich kids loved them not just for their outlandish appearance, but because they kept their feet warm during those chilly winters. These were the type of boots you might wear on a ski trip, making them a must-have for families who enjoyed winter getaways. Moon boots signaled that you were not just fashionable, but also up for some lavish adventures. Imagine having not one, but several phones scattered throughout your house. For rich kids in the 1970s, this was reality. They didn't just have the classic rotary phone in the kitchen. Some had telephones in the living room and bedrooms as well. For a kid, having a private phone in the bedroom signaled you lived a life of luxury that other kids just dreamt about. These kids could actually have private conversations behind a closed door instead of standing in the busy kitchen. The 1970s was a turning point for gaming, and rich kids were at the forefront of this revolution. The Pong home console was the very first home video game system, and it allowed kids to play a simplified version of table tennis in the comfort of their own homes. It was an absolute game changer and a source of endless entertainment, especially if you were one of the friends invited over to play. The rich kids were always happy to show off their cutting-edge technology to friends, and it announced who was ahead of the curve in the world of technology and entertainment. Tiger Beat magazine, the teen idol publication of the 1970s, was a must-have for any rich kid. And they didn't just have a one-off magazine from the grocery store shelf. They had a full-year subscription. It was a monthly portal to the world of pop culture, filled with glossy photos of heartthrobs like Sean Cassidy and Leif Garrett. Having a subscription to Tiger Beat meant you knew all the up-and-coming teen sensations, popular fashion trends, and celebrity gossip. It was more than just a magazine. It was the closest thing to fame you could get while living in the suburbs of Middle America. In the 1970s, kitchen appliances were becoming more advanced, and the trash compactor was a prime example of how wealthy kids lived. Trash compactors made throwing away garbage fun, while at the same time reducing the need for frequent trips to take the garbage out. It was the mark of an efficient and modern kitchen, a space where many 1970s families gathered together. Having a trash compactor meant you had a sleek, high-tech kitchen that was ahead of its time. Grooming in the 70s was an art form, and one of the essential tools for any rich kid was to always have a goody super comb at the ready. Hairstyles in the 70s were taken very seriously, and this comb was their secret weapon. Its oversized, long teeth made it ideal for creating that signature 70s feathered hairstyle. So owning a super comb demonstrated your commitment to fashion and personal style. Simply by having that comb hanging out of your back pocket was a status symbol of a glamorous life. The release of Star Wars in 1977 was a cultural phenomenon, and rich kids were quick to embrace it. Owning the entire collection of Star Wars action figures, ships, and playsets wasn't just about being a fan. It was about being the envy of the neighborhood. These toys were scarce at first, so having them was a pretty big deal. The Star Wars toys brought the magic of the movies into our homes, and the rich kids were usually the first to get their hands on them. It wasn't just about owning the toys, it was about being able to relive the adventures of a galaxy far, far away. The ultimate in 1970s bedroom luxury was, of course, the waterbed, and rich kids everywhere couldn't get enough of the wavy bed early on. Waterbeds provided a unique and so-called relaxing sleeping experience, but more than anything, they added a touch of opulence to any bedroom. That was, of course, if you could afford one of them. Generally, waterbeds were very expensive, so it was unusual to see one outside of a parent's bedroom. So that is why it was such a big deal if a rich kid had one in their room. If you had a color TV in your bedroom during the 1970s, that meant you were one of the lucky ones. Black and white TVs were still very common, and color TVs were making their way into the living rooms of homes across the country. But having one in the bedroom was a status symbol. Can you imagine being able to watch your favorite shows in full color from the comfort of your own bed? This was the reality for some. And in addition to having multiple TVs in the house, some rich families even had a TV with a clicker that allowed them to change the channel without getting up, which was mind-blowing. Rich kids in the 1970s also embraced handheld electronic gadgets, and one of the most beloved was the Mattel electronic football game. This device allowed kids to simulate the excitement of a football game in electronic form. It was very simple, yet pretty addictive, providing hours of fun for those that could afford it. Rich kids always seem to have the latest and greatest in electronic entertainment. The Mattel electronic football game is just another example of our rich friends getting it first, which built up the excitement and made us want it even more. Finally, let's talk about the absolute biggest symbol of wealth and luxury in the 1970s, the in-ground swimming pool. Rich families with two-story houses and spacious backyards often had these, turning their homes into a private oasis for summer fun. Having an in-ground pool meant you always had a glorious suntan and could host the most exclusive pool parties for all of your friends. It was the ultimate status symbol that showcased affluence, and we all knew someone that was living that lifestyle. I mean, who wouldn't want a built-in paradise right in their backyard? Recollection Road and LEGACYBOX both believe it's important to preserve the past. If you're like me, there's a box of your family's treasured home movies and photos tucked away somewhere, and LEGACYBOX can help you preserve them digitally. The process is a simple and safe solution for converting your home movies and photos to thumb drive or to the cloud. Just send in your LEGACYBOX filled with old VHS and camcorder tapes, film reels, and pictures, and get back digital copies that can be easily enjoyed, shared, and kept organized. It's that easy. LEGACYBOX is trusted by over 1 million people, and it's all done right here in the USA. Get started preserving your past today. Go to legacybox.com/recollection to get an incredible 55% off. Buy today to take advantage of this exclusive offer and send in your memories when you're ready. Go to legacybox.com/recollection to save 55% while supplies last. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and make sure to check the description of this video for links to pick up a t-shirt. Thank you to our loyal Patreon supporters listed here. Visit patreon.com/recollectionroad to join the club.